So just a little bit of introduction about myself. I'm Ishani. I'm a counseling psychologist. I've been working in mental health since 2019. Um, I do one-on-one therapy and I do a lot of corporate workshops. So whether it's an individual setting or a group setting, I love interacting with people. So here we are, and today we will be talking about stress, but not in we're not going to talk about how we define stress or just list like 20 different things that we can do to manage it, because I feel like we could very easily do that through a Google search, right? So we're going to break this down into a few activities for which I will need a lot of participation for all of you. uh, so are we ready to begin escaping the stress room, basically? All right, cool. Let us get started. Right. A few just general questions to check in with all of you. When we think of escape, escape is a word that is very, very commonly associated with stress, right? And I know that when we were just checking in with everybody right now, a lot of us said that we were stressed or just not doing too great. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you see this question, right? What do you need to escape? What do you feel like you need to escape?
Stress,
Hmm.
uh,
Yes.
negative emotions.
Yep. Negative emotions, anxiety, uncomfortable situations.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The situation causing stress, yes. Unnecessary thoughts, great responses. Responsibilities, absolutely. Hi, Divya. Overthinking, yes. These things are going to come into as we work through this workshop today. Yes, Manish, overthinking, expectations. Yes, absolutely. So a lot of things that we feel like we need to escape from. Bad memories, escape to the mountains. Love that. Right. Have you ever wanted to escape just real life, run into some imaginary world? Like Rakesh said, escape to the mountains. That would be pretty ideal. Um, yes. Okay. I think all of us sometimes want to escape and just run and start fresh, like start um, from scratch where nobody knows us. There are no expectations, no responsibilities. Right, Anusha. Um, okay. Anusha, I feel like there actually might be quite a few people that might be able to relate with you. Um, we are expected to work day in and day out, 5 days or 6 days of the week. And that can sometimes lead us to feeling like we're fixated on our work or that's all we can think about. So I think there might be others who can relate to you. Sometimes just go into a time machine where we can undo a few things if needed to too. Well, that would be great. Traveling in time would be a great skill to have. Expectations plus one to the reverse. Escape the dreams and come back to reality. Richard, that is also a very fair response. We can definitely get stuck in the world of dreams sometimes and imagination sometimes. So finding a right balance is definitely on the cards. All right. Thank you for all the responses, everyone. Okay, so we're just going to set up some ground rules, right? I mean, we are literally living in a world filled with more drama than probably any reality TV show we watch. So we're going to try and tackle that stress head on and give it a run for its money. We're going to do a few activities, turn stress into a few puzzles, and unlock the solution to those challenges, right? Um, Moving forward, we will be looking at the intricacies of stress, its impact on your mind, its impact on your body, and learn how to cope with those effects as well, right? So there are going to be a few challenges, like I mentioned before, some group challenges, some individual challenges. As much participation as we can get, that'll be awesome. I see there's a lot of us here, so looking forward to hearing from a lot of people. Some ground rules and point system we have is that every correct answer that anybody gives gets 1 point. If you're doing something group based, every new person that answers the question will get 2 points. So there's not just one person from a group carrying the load. And if you finish before time, you might get an extra point, right? Cool. So that's the basic rule system. Before we get on to the first activity, any questions? Cool. Give me a second. I think there's something in the chat box. Okay, cool. Awesome. All right. So before I uncover, so the first activity that we have is, I see there's a question, how will this session help me? Hopefully this is also going to be a little bit lighthearted for anybody that needs a break, anybody that's kind of stuck in a spiral as well with respect to stressors and everything going around. We will dive into what stress is through these activities and then talk about how it impacts us and how we can work ourselves out of it, basically. A lot of it is going to be activity based, just putting it out there. Okay, so this is going to be finding words in like a puzzle. We've done these puzzles hundreds of times. There are going to be 7 words, 7 opportunities for you to get a point. Are you ready? And I don't want anybody to talk over the other person. So if you spot a word, I want you to put in the word I in the chat box. I'm just going to type it. I want you to type that word in so I know what order everybody's putting their hands up in. And I'll call out names. Perfect. Okay, so there are 7 words that you need to find listed at the bottom here. I want you to find it in the crossword. All things related to stress. Okay. All right, awesome. I'm going to call you out. Great. Everybody is rocking this challenge. Okay, awesome. Love the responses pouring in. Cool. I'm just going to wait for everyone to finish. The speed of you all participating in this is absolutely mind-blowing. I can't believe the pace at this switch is going. Okay. We see a lot of pressures, worry, stress, strain. Anything that anybody, anxiety, goal, fear, cool, pain. We don't have that on the list, but stress is definitely a pain. Tension. Okay, awesome. I'm going to scroll right up to the top now. Okay. Okay. So the first I we have is from Puneet. What did you find, Puneet? Do you want to point it out to us? We have Puneet, we have Sushil, we have this. Yes, hi Puneet.
Yeah, hi.
Which one would you like to point out for us?
Phone tension, I guess.
Tension. Do you want to guide me to it?
It's the 3rd row from the bottom and the 6th column.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Yes, we see tension. Great. Sushil, do you want to guide us to the next word? Or Disha, I see you put in worry. I also see Jagdish put in an I. Anybody that would like to unmute from those names?
Yes, hi. Disha.
Yes.
Anxiety.
Okay.
That's 3rd row.
Okay.
4th column.
Got it. Great.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Disha. Okay. One more. Aishwarya, would you like to take me to worry?
Yeah, so it's in the first row,
Okay.
the 3rd letter onwards horizontally is worry.
Yes. Worry. Awesome. All right. Cool. Why do I see invite? Ryan, you're all invited to the session. That's why. All right. Pain is in the right down corner. Got it. Rain. Yes. So we're finding words that are not there too. Amazing. Great. So here are all the words that we were looking for. And these are words that we commonly associate with stress, right? We commonly associate worries. Pressure, anxiety. Pressure is related to expectations, which a lot of us brought up before. Just going to mute somebody that just avoiding background noise, strain, fear, tension, all things associated with stress on a regular basis, right? All right. Invite, yes. Okay, we're gonna go on to the next activity. This was a lot easier than what's coming up next. So I'm gonna put up 5 questions on the screen. Gonna be harder to figure out. So the rate at which eyes or responses come in is going to be slower for sure. But as soon as you say I, I'm gonna call your name and you can answer the riddle as you please. All right, awesome. Not doing it as a group thing since we have a lot of people here. Here we go. So these are the 5 questions. They are kind of riddles, right? If you want, I can read them out. Anybody that is having struggle reading it, I can read it out for you. Anybody that figures any of these out first, put in an I in the chat box. Okay, I'm gonna need you to put in an I so I can call you out. Don't put in the answers because then people are gonna get it from you. Okay. I'm gonna give you all about 5 minutes to figure this out. Okay, we've got an I for 2, I for 4. Okay. 1, 3, 4, 5. Can you please hold it? I for 4. Yes, got it. Yogesh, you said what is the question? We've got 5 questions on the screen. They're kind of like riddles. So if you could read them, figure out what the answer is, and then kind of put in the chat box if you've got an answer to any of the questions. Ideally, all 4 of us, all of us will get through all 5 of them, which is why we've got about a couple more minutes. Don't put in the answers, please. We don't want anybody to get the answers from you. Okay, awesome. Great. Okay, let's start with the first question. Let me see who was the first person to say I. Well, the first. Viraj and Sayan. Anybody, either of you two, that would like to give us the answer for the first one?
Yeah, hi. So I would say it's jump inside in the building. So just from sofa to floor.
Okay, and Sayan, what's your answer?
No, my answer is he fell out from the ground floor.
Okay, got it. What does everybody else think the answer is for the first question? For everyone that said I for first, what do you think the answer is?
He must be in his dream.
Okay, that is a great imaginative response. Okay, Indu says the same thing. He might be dreaming. All right. Any other responses?
He must have jumped into anti-gravity.
Another imaginative response. I love you, Chaitanya. Did not fall off any high floor. All right, Shivani. Story did not specify which floor the person fell out of. Atif. Okay.
Actually,
so
it is mentioned someone over there, and how could they have
survived the fall. It means someone is another person and they are another person. Is it a plan?
Grammatical logic. I like it. Thank you, Jagdish. With a parachute. Okay, we're getting creative. Okay, awesome. All right, so let's break it down. The person was not dreaming because that is going to be a loophole. It would be mentioned if they were dreaming. They're also not an anti-gravity. It says story. Okay, yes. I like that grammatical error that was pointed out. Non-living thing. No, it was someone, so it was a living thing. He's fallen in love. The creativity of this is mind-blowing. Okay. It also specifies that the person fell out, so they did not fall into the couch. For anybody that said that it does not specify which floor they fell out of, somebody, I think it was, Zion, you said they fell out of the ground floor, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So technically, San gets the point because it does not specify which floor they fell out of. So they could have fallen out of the ground floor or the first floor. And I know that a few others also said that Shivani also said that they did not fall out of a higher story. So that's the correct answer. It says it's a 30-story building, but they fell out from a lower floor. Cool. Awesome. Okay, the second, there are a dozen eggs in a carton, 12 people each take a single egg, but there is still one egg left in the carton. How? Who got it first? Number 2, Jinal. Would you like to answer that for us?
Yeah, I can think of two ways here. One is one could be like, by the time all eggs were consumed, there was one more egg in the carton, like, bird came out from the egg and then the bird produced one more egg. So that's a one way. And another one is like, there could be still one egg in the carton. Someone has took the carton with the egg. So
Did you
that's two
put the carton with
possibilities.
the egg?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Noted both your reasons. All right, cool. Punya, you had I for 2 as well. Well, what's your take? And then we'll get to Madhumata because they raised their hand.
Yeah, last one took the carton with the egg.
Okay. And Madhumata, what's your guess?
Yeah, it was the same thing.
Okay. One, all right, great. And this says one egg was replaced by a different person. Arthur says the last person got the box with the egg. All right, you guys, someone took and kept it back. It wasn't specified. Okay, anything that's not specified.
How many carton boxes are there?
What was that,
I
Zishan?
mean, yes, maybe there's another extra carton box which was lying there, which had one egg in it.
Huh? Right. Okay, but no, we're not adding any information to the riddle. Okay, cool. I also love the creativity of one egg laying an animal, a bird, and then that bird laying another egg. It's very creative. The person carrying it is also among the 12 people and prefers to keep it inside the garden. Yes, absolutely. You're all much smarter than me because I did not get this for a while. The last person takes the carton with the egg inside. All right, going to the third one. A boat has a ladder that's 10 feet long and hangs off the side of a boat, with its last 2 feet submerged in water. If the ocean tide rises 5 feet, how much of the ladder will be underwater? I don't think I saw a lot of 3s. This is math. Anybody for 3?
Yeah,
Actually,
me.
yes, Aishwarya.
So, I mean, how I perceived it is for a fact that, as the ocean tide rises, so does the boat. So it's not necessary that we need to use a lot of maths over here. It's just that it still remains 2 feet submerged under the water because the boat also rises.
Amazing. Aishwarya, I love how you got that. Because everybody goes through the math when I did try to misguide everybody saying it's a math question.
I think the last time I went in a boat, this was something which just came up as a riddle and that somehow I remembered. So this was something which was very spontaneously something which I thought of.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that answer because nobody else said I for 3. For next session, I will have one Yes, all the possible scenarios, guys. We're going to live edit this slide and add in all the possible answers. Okay, let's go I for 4. There are 10 birds perched on a fence. A farmer aims his rifle and shoot. Okay, yes, I saw a lot of zeros coming for this. But hold on. I'm forgetting to give points. You're all so fast. Okay, cool. I think I've got all the points noted. We've got a 0, 1 bird because after the farmers fire a single shot, the other birds fly away. Yes. Cool. I'm gonna see who got I for 4 first. I for 4. Kuryan was I for 4 first. Kuryan, what's your answer?
One bird is left, which the
One bird
farmer
is
had
left.
shot.
Okay, yes, that is the answer that everybody is given. You're all correct. And Kuryan gets a point for speed. Okay. All right, last one. A man is condemned to death. He has to choose from 3 rooms to accept his punishment. First room has a firing squad with guns loaded. Second room has a blazing fire. Third room is full of tigers who haven't eaten in 6 months. Which room should he choose? I for 5. I want to see who had it first. I see Jagdish has said it, but I also want to see. Almar, you said 5. I for 5. Would you like to tell us what your response was? Don't worry. Okay, Jagdish, do you want to tell us what your response to that is?
Yeah, I would choose room 3 because the third, a room full of tigers that haven't eaten for 6 months would be dead by that time.
You are correct. And I think that's everybody's choice. A lot of people are saying 3. Tigers are already dead. Absolutely. 6 months, nobody's surviving. All right. Thank you, Jagdish. For anybody that thought they weren't going to get a chance to get a point, we've got 4 more similar questions lined up. I promise this is the end of it. No more riddling your brains. All right. Anybody, again, I for whichever number you're choosing. Okay. Jenny, I'm glad you're laughing and having fun. Okay, Jagdish was fast. Okay. I've got Jagdish for 6. Kuryan for 7. Punya for 9. Aishwarya for 8. Okay, I think that's about all of them, but I'm going to give you all a few more minutes to just get through all the questions. Also, I see someone from Mindfulness here. Okay, I for 8, 8, 9. Seems like 8 and 9 are the more popular ones. 7. Don't give out the answers, guys. We need everybody to rack their brains. Okay. For 6, Jagdish, do you want to give us your thoughts on 6?
So I think it's the United States which has 4th of July.
Yeah. But which other country outside the United States?
Canada as well.
Okay. Anybody else? Let me see who else said I for 6. Disha.
All the countries will have the 4th of July. I mean, it's a date in the calendar.
Yes. All right, Jagdish, good try. That was basically the whole trick. US celebrates 4th of July as Independence Day, so everybody thinks of the US first, but technically speaking, every country has 4th of July on their calendars. All right, cool. Yes, Sunita, all. We had Kriyan for 7. Kriyan, what's your take?
The matchstick.
And why?
Without that, I won't light any of the other things.
Perfecto. Great. All right, we've got Aishwarya for 8.
It's the same. It's 100 pounds each. Yeah.
Yep, you are correcto. It weighs the same because it's 100 pounds on both of them. Okay, and the last one, 9 for Punya.
Yeah, so he walks out of the store without the shopping cart. So it doesn't buy anything, take anything.
Man is in a grocery store, pulls the shopping cart, he walks out of the store without paying the door. Smart. I also have an alternative response, but that is also very, very valid.
Okay.
So you definitely get a point. He works there, he's the owner. I can see that. Owner, yes. You're all on the right track. There's definitely an employee that walks out. They were basically walking out with trash. That was my answer. But Punya definitely gets a point. Yes, Parin, thank you. You thought of the same thing as me. Yes, janitor took out the trash. Perfect, Arthur. But points to Punya. Okay, awesome. That is a lot of games that we've played. USA is actually a store that one does not need to pay as the system scans and that. Technically, you're still paying, but yes, I love all the smart responses everyone's giving, honestly speaking, because I would never think of it. Okay, we are going to go on to our scores. Any guesses who won? Because we've got a bit of a tiebreaker between three people for this exercise. We've got Jinal, Aishwarya, and Kuryan at 2 points each. Good job, guys. Great, awesome. Okay, thoughts. How was your experience when you were doing this? Did you feel like, were you worried about getting the right answer? Were you worried you were running out of time? Were you worried someone else will get it before you? How many of us had these thoughts cross our mind when we were looking at the questions? Disha, yes, you did. I think one of them. Did someone answer one of them before you? Otherwise, I'm just gonna put two for you as well. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to manage all of these scores. It's okay. We'll all get brownies in the end. Worried I couldn't read all of them fast enough. Jenny, makes sense. I was thinking how others are typing so fast. Relatable. I'm glad it was fun, Mitwa. All right. Was anybody stressed about this exercise? De-stressing for you and stressful for Rakesh. All right. Nope. Nope. Okay. I love the variety of responses because that's exactly what I needed to segue into my next slide. Okay, we're kind of enjoying it. 40 slides giving the don't worry. It's not I promise these were the end of the riddles. Yes, it was like why non-stress people have joined. I think some pressure to perform within a stipulated time. Yes, absolutely. It was having a different thinking approach. Yes. Cool. All right. Coming to stress and what stress responses are, right? So we've got this little bit of a graph, like a vertical graph on the side of the screen, right? If we talk about the riddles that we just did or the puzzle that we solved at the very beginning, right? Finding words, trying to get it before everyone else. The questions basically, or the puzzle basically, was the stimuli that you were getting from the environment. Technically speaking, everything that we're subjected to in our environments are stressors, right? They have we call something a stressor when it has the ability to stress you out. It has the capacity to be stressful in one way or another, right? Whether that's of a 0.5 intensity or a 10 intensity, doesn't matter. Everything around us almost can count as a stressor, right? So we also talked about different perceptions, right? So some of us may have seen this exercise, some of us may have heard about what we're about to do. And the first thing that strikes you is, oh, there might be somebody else that gets the answer before me. For a lot of us, this was like, okay, this is something like I see, something different from regular activities. I know a lot of us are in the office right now, right? So it might even be an opportunity for you to take a break. And not have to do the work that you were doing right before this. So the way we perceive it is also very different from individual to individual. And that's where we get to primary appraisal, right? How we talk about stress or how we take a stressor in has two basic layers. So you can see primary appraisal and secondary appraisal here. What does that mean? I saw a lot of I'm going to refer to your responses to kind of put this in perspective. Primary appraisal basically means how are you perceiving the stressor? So in this case, it was these set of questions, the riddles, right? So it can either be positively perceived, it can be perceived as irrelevant, it can be perceived as dangerous. Maybe out of, I'm not super sure, I think we have about 100 people here. Maybe somebody looked at the questions and thought, I'll just work on my presentation for like 10 more minutes while they do this. I'll come back when they start talking about stress, right? It might have been irrelevant to them, right? So it gets discarded. That sensory input gets discarded. Somebody might have taken it positively. We had a lot of people that said it was de-stressing for them. It was fun for them, right? So it was a positive appraisal that you did in that first layer. A lot of people might have also felt, we had a response that said it was stressful for them, right? So when it falls into that dangerous category, we call it dangerous because stress as a basic concept is a survival instinct. It's a response that we've had and we've gotten it from our predecessors, right? Stress has always existed. We all feel stress on some level or the other in our life, right? So again, a stress can be threatening, a stress can be challenging, a stress can also be harmless in nature. So positive, irrelevant, dangerous, right? So once you perceive it as something that might be a challenge, threat, or it can cause some form of harm to you, it goes into secondary appraisal, right? If anything does not fit into any of these categories, it goes out of the stress window. If you imagine it as a filtering process, right? Does it make sense until now? Any questions about primary appraisal? Or what the first layer of stress looks like, how we perceive it and how we perceive it differently? No, cool. Okay, now comes the second layer. So again, say for example, Disha, Karyan, and I are put in the exact same stressor, right? We were all put in the exactly same stressful situation working with these riddles. Maybe Korean for them, it was super, super easy and they found this like a challenge. And for Disha, it was more of a neutral stimuli. It was neither threatening nor did it feel like it would cause any harm, but it was also somewhat of a challenge for them. For me, it was a little bit threatening because I personally might have this bias that I'm not great at riddles. I'm not really good at it. What that indicates is that I don't have the resources to deal with the challenge that was put in front of me, right? Whereas for Kuryan and Disha, they know that they can solve riddles. They clearly, their scores say that, right? So they knew that they can solve riddles, and this was a fun activity for them. So the second step becomes assessing what resources you have to tackle that particular solution, which is why we have sufficient resources on one side, insufficient on the other. So you might perceive a situation as challenging, like Kuryan and Disha may have, but they felt like they had the resources. So it became a motivation for them to tackle that challenge head on. Whereas if I felt like I did not have the resources or the experience to answer these questions, it would lead to further stress, overthinking. How am I going to solve this? What are other people going to think of me? What if I don't get the responses fast enough, right? That's how the flow of stress can work a lot of times. We will talk about coping soon. I have a question in one-on-one box. In primary appraisal, positive perception wouldn't necessarily be stress, right? It depends, right? That's where secondary appraisal comes in. A positive appraisal can also be termed as a challenge, right? Okay, this is something that I haven't tackled before, but I have the resources for it. And that's where we come into secondary appraisal. Do I have the resources or not? So sometimes stress can be challenging as well. There is a stress curve or an anxiety curve. It's bell-shaped. If anybody wants to look it up, right? And what it basically says is there is an optimum level of stress or anxiety which motivates you, but it's not high enough to discourage you from pursuing that task. So that is basically how I would answer that. If that makes sense, let me know if it doesn't. Cool. We will get into coping soon. But before we dive into the details, just to briefly mention, there are two different types of coping: problem-focused, emotion-focused. And I feel like the way that all of us might be able to relate to this is the example of therapy, right? When we say, see a therapist or speak to a therapist, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Or what is your perception of therapy? Because I know a lot of people who have told me the first thing that comes to their mind is that, how is talking going to help, right? How is talking going to solve anything that's happening in my life? Does anybody else feel that way? Because if you do, that's fine. I genuinely know a lot of people who feel that way, and I can see where they're coming from when they say that. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear therapy? Healing. Okay. Lot of Q&A. Okay, sharing. Non-judgmental, getting things out of your head. All right. Deep conversations. Right. Therapy is primarily emotion focused to a great extent because you're talking about what you've been through, you're talking about what you're experiencing, and you're talking about how to cope with those emotions. It can also be solution focused, but therapy is never only solution focused, right? Which is why a lot of people who prefer coping with their circumstances through a solution focused method, they don't enjoy the concept of therapy as much. How is, again, repeating what I said at the very beginning, how is talking about my problem going to help me? They want solutions. So there are a lot of people that prefer solution focused work, coping, and there are a lot of people that prefer emotion focused coping, right? Talking about what you're going through, processing it, getting perspective, all of that, right? Like Jenny said, getting perspective as well. So those are the two basic different kinds of coping. Moving forward, I want some quick responses on how stressful these each situations are for you, right? So 0 is no stress, 5 is stress. So 0 to 5, what would you rate fighting with a partner? 5, 5, 3, 4, 5, 5, 5, 4. Neutral, so maybe a 3. 0, okay, 4. All right. Injury or a pain. Say you get into an accident and you've hurt yourself, or yeah, 5, 4, 0, 1, 3, 2, 3, 2. Great. How about the weather? It's a really hot day or it's a really cold day. How stressful is that for you? 0, 0, 2, 1, 2, 4, 3, 0. Okay, 5. Cool. Okay, not going to go into all of those, but if anybody wants to take a screenshot and do it at their own time, that they're also welcome. But do you notice how varying our responses are? When we talked about the weather, somebody responded with a 0, somebody responded with a 5. It's the exact same situation. Put in the exact same situation, different people will have different perceptions of how stressful that is. That is how the appraisal process of stress works very differently from one person to another. What affects you, what bothers you, very, very subjective to who you are and what you've been through and what your coping skills look like, right? Rapid fire question, guys. Okay, I'm going to give you a few facts about stress. I want you to tell me if you think they're right or wrong. Cool? Chronic stress can cause heart disease. True or false? Yes, true, right, true. You don't know, that's also fine. Don't worry about it, we're here to learn, right? True, right. All right, everybody thinks it's right. It is actually true. Chronic stress has effects on your body, your hormones, and the level of your functioning of your nervous system, whether it's sympathetic or parasympathetic. So it definitely impacts you in more ways than one in a physical sense. Stress and burnout have no relationship with each other. True or false? False, false, or false. Wrong, false, super false. Yes, correct. No idea, that's also okay. We're here to learn. Yes, stress and burnout do have an intense relationship with each other. Prolonged stress, which is left unchecked, not handled properly, is going to lead to burnout. If you don't manage your stress well, it is eventually going to get you to a stage where your body has no more resources to deal with the stress that is being presented with, right? And eventually leading to a burnout phase. If a situation stresses one person, it will stress everyone exposed to it. We just did an exercise on this. True or false? False. Please pause. Depends. True. Depends on the individual. Yes, exactly. It depends on the individual. But if there is a situation that stresses one person out, there is no certainty that it has to stress everybody. Similarly, if one person does not feel stressed by a certain situation and you do, there is no reason to feel bad about it. It doesn't mean that you're doing anything less than them. It doesn't mean that you're lagging behind in any other way. We just did an example exercise where we saw that Fights with our partner, the weather, how we get hurt, pain, everything affects everyone very, very differently, right? So a stressor for you might not be a stressor for someone else, vice versa, always applies. Cortisol is a stress hormone. Bit biological. Any guesses? True, yes, true. True, no idea. That's also okay. Right? True, yes. Yes. So when we get stressed, cortisol is a hormone which is released from our adrenal glands, which are basically present on the top of our kidneys. And that is how your body responds physiologically to stress. Okay. Last, stress doesn't affect sleep. False. Perfect. Stress does definitely have a great ability to impact the way you sleep. All right, now that we've talked about stress, what it is, how we perceive it, how do we defeat it? So if you're looking at a video game, this is where the really large monster comes out and your usual guns are not going to do it, right? So you're going to have to tackle it from multiple directions. What do you think I'm going to show you a few images and I want you all to tell me what you think the coping mechanism used in that image is, right? What type of emotion focused coping would this be? Crying? Okay. Anyone else? Crying. Cool. Yes. Yes. Meltdown. Crying. Breakdown. Yes. Someone hurt her. Yes. Crying. Someone, something, any situation. Breakdown, letting it out. Crying. Yes. Why do you think crying is helpful? Anybody that wants to unmute themselves and share a little bit? Why do you think crying helps? How is it a coping skill? Crying makes you sad sometimes. Crying is a result of feeling upset. How do you think it helps?
But it also helps in venting out and lightening and facing your emotions. It's
Absolutely.
like the pent up emotion is not there. If you're hurt and you let it out, you do feel lighter.
Absolutely.
It's a superpower. I do feel crying is a superpower.
It
It's
definitely
very
is.
mechanical, but it is a superpower.
Did you know that tears are actually a way for you to release toxins from your body? So every time you're crying, you're also washing out toxins from your body. As much, yes, Summer, you're correct. As much as it is a way to let out stress, which is very, very true. A lot of people find it. This was supposed to be a group task. I'm just going to keep moving back and forth. Sorry, guys. It does release toxins. It activates your parasympathetic system. A little bit of biology on how stress works in your bodies. When you're stressed, your sympathetic nervous system gets activated, right? So when I say sympathetic nervous system, what it does is basically it is your fight or flight response. When you're faced with a stressor, it's preparing your body to either flee from the situation or fight the situation head on, right? Which means that your heart rate increases, your pupils get dilated, cortisol, your stress hormone is released, right? Your body is pumping with adrenaline and you feel all worked up. So you feel palpitations, you feel jittery, you feel like you're ready to tackle danger. It's almost like if somebody put you in front of a snake and you had to run, right? That's basically what stress in a nutshell could feel like, right? Whereas crying, on the other hand, it activates your parasympathetic system, which is the opposite of your sympathetic system. This helps you calm down, right? It helps you balance all the things that were happening by the other system. So it calms you down, it helps you relax, it helps slow down your heart rate. It stimulates digestion as well. So it kicks your body's metabolism up and it actually gets it back to a state of rest. So crying helps you do that as a process. It activates that process. Cool. Releases toxin, releases oxytocin as well. Oxytocin is something that it's the hormone, it's called the hormone of bonding, right? So when you cry in front of someone, you might feel more connected. You might feel that you have this, a lot of times we cry in front of other people only when we trust them, but it also helps you feel more connected because that's what the hormone oxytocin does to you. I am aware that we've got only 10 minutes left, so we're going to speed through coping a little bit more. So we did crying. What do you think this is? What type of coping? Venting? Yes. Talking to mom? Yes. Ms. That's actually really correct. Sometimes it's really hard to put into words what you're feeling, what you're thinking, and all you can do is cry. And sometimes that feels better. So yeah, Gaurav, I would say you shouldn't stop yourself from crying if you feel like crying. That is the more appropriate way to look at it. You don't have to force yourself to cry if you don't feel like it. But at the same time, if you do, there should be nothing that's stopping you. Find a comfortable space, find somewhere you feel safe, go for it. All right, consoling, counseling, sulking, opening up, learning, expressing awareness, detangling, mom helping a child, giving some advice. All right, so basically, we get the gist. Someone's talking about what they're going through. We see this little bubble indicating that they have thoughts, scattered thoughts, confused thoughts that they're sharing with somebody. How does it help? Thoughts are overwhelming. Putting it into words helps. For those who are not able to express themselves verbally, it takes time. Sit with yourself, if not with somebody else. Try making a word salad, right? Whatever word comes to your mind, just put it on paper. As a therapist, we a lot of times see clients who come in and they're like, I've got something on my mind. I'm not really sure how to frame it. At that point of time, we will tell them whatever word comes to your mind, just let's make a word salad. Give me random words, don't have to form a sentence, don't have to make grammatical sense. Give me words. That way, you're putting some information out there with the help of another person or with the help of a piece of paper and pen. You can actually pin down the basic structure of what you're feeling and why you're feeling it and try to get them together. Try to form a concrete thought out of it, right? A lot of times also, a lot of sessions end with, the person just talking through maybe 15 minutes of the session, right? And then you ask them how they're feeling, or you ask them how they want to move forward with that situation, right? And they say, you know what? I just needed to talk about it out loud. I have been thinking about this in my head for the last week, and it just felt too much, felt too scattered, too jumbled. Simply talking about it out loud gave me some clarity. And I'm not even doing a lot in that situation. I'm just providing them with a safe space to talk, share, and detangle their own thoughts, right? So, as simple as it might sound, talking, how's that going to help? Or how's something when said out loud going to make more sense than when I'm saying it to myself in my head? I can just set you up with realistic examples that I've seen during my sessions. It does really help. So I would encourage anybody who hasn't tried it to give it a try. See how you feel about it. Do it with somebody that you feel safe and secure around. Saying out how I feel and sometimes speaking it out loud gives, or talking to someone else gives me another perspective. Absolutely, Alicia. That is very, very true. Cool. Let's go back to this. What do you think this mechanism is? Journaling. Yes. Anybody want to tell me why you think journaling is a good way of coping?
I think when we write how we feel, we're actually putting or we're actually identifying what we feel into words. So there is much more consciousness or self-awareness, at least in my case, that's something which really helped.
Absolutely. It's a form of self-reflection, like Arun added. It's a way to express yourself. Absolutely, Rakesh. Gitanjali, very, very true. You're giving your thoughts structure. Sometimes, say for example, you're trying to resolve an argument, right? And you're going over it in your head 10 times before you actually have that conversation with someone else. It can feel very, very scattered. It can feel overwhelming, even. Take a piece of paper, take your pen, right? Break it down into points that you want to address. I want to address A, B, C. What about A do I want to talk about? It feels a little mechanical to structure a conversation that way, but it can actually take a lot of stress off your shoulders. It helps you organize what you're thinking, and it keeps you from actually going over that 20 times in your head. Once you put it out on paper, you might actually stop thinking about it. A lot of times when we go to sleep, we have some thoughts running through our mind over and over and over. Put it down on your notes app, put it down on paper, try it out. Trust me, it helps. Thoughts to words helps order and entangle, letters to self. That is a great way to cope, Lindsay. I'm glad you brought that up. Blocking our thoughts, unblock your thoughts. We want a little bit writing down things to really
I have a
de-stressing.
question.
Yes.
For journaling, I used to do it and then I stopped doing it. Reason being, I felt when there was a lot of negativity and I was writing it all down, I felt I'm uh, more like encircled myself. with the negativity. So I thought I'll only write when there's positive things happening, and that eventually led me to stop journaling altogether. So I don't know how this is supposed to be. Like when you say that one should focus on the positive and you should write your positive things down as reminders or whatever. But if you keep writing, if you are in a not at a very good place and if you keep writing about it, aren't you like reiterating those things that happened, say, throughout the day over and over again to yourself?
Absolutely. So I think journaling again is a very subjective process, right? What you gain from journaling is very different from one person to another. Is it a way that you find yourself expressing what you're feeling, right? Do you feel like you need a space where you can actually let those thoughts out? In that case, people can choose to write both the positive and the negatives. A lot of people also feel like writing down the negatives, it's like you're storing information about the bad things that has happened to you. You can look back at it, it makes you feel worse.
Yeah.
Write it down, tear it up into pieces, trash it. Write it down, burn it. Write it down, put it under the water, right? However, you want to destroy it. If it's a mean of expression, it is already doing the job when you're writing it out on paper. A lot of people, I see a question that comes up, right? Isn't it over analyzing? It can spiral into a process of overthinking for sure, which is when, if you feel like you're somebody that struggles with that, if you feel like you're somebody that struggles with not knowing where to stop, not knowing where to draw the line between expressing yourself and living in that spiral of negativity, it helps to speak to someone about it, whether it's a friend. If you don't want professional support, it can be a friend you trust, it can be a family member you trust. If you prefer to have a more unbiased, anonymous set of yours, therapy is always a way to go, right? Write it down, speak to someone about it, right? So you don't get stuck there. Again, it is a coping skill. Coping skills only help you to a certain extent, right? It helps you, it equips you with tools you might need to deal with a certain situation by yourself. But there's also a threshold. It's like if you compare physical injury, right? You get a scrape on your knee. You can tackle that yourself. You clean it up with Savlon, you put some antibacterial cream, and then you tape it up with a band-aid. What happens if you get a really bad fall or the cut is too deep? You will run to the hospital to get stitches, right? It's a little bit like that. Assess the intensity of what you're going through. If you feel like you need a little extra help, if you feel like you're struggling with drawing the line between coping and overindulging in a coping skill, get extra support, right? Similarly, we distract ourselves through Netflix, video games, books, so many different kinds of coping. Where do we draw the line between distraction and avoidance? Because it can very easily turn into something, it can be the only thing you do, avoiding the stressful situation forever, right? So drawing that line becomes really important. Coming to, I think we're running really low on time, but I would really love for all of you very quickly to share some coping skills that you personally use in your life, right? That you find really helpful. And I want you to take back this activity with you. Um, we also had problem focused, but we're running out of time. Sorry about that. But some questions to take back with you, a strength about yourself that you're grateful for. If anybody wants to note it down, something around you that you're grateful for, something in your life or someone in your life that you're grateful for, right? 3 questions to take back. And this is your take back activity. I want you to imagine a bucket, split into 2 parts vertically. One hand, draw this. I'm sure a lot of us have paper and pens lying around. Draw a bucket. One side of it, write down the things that you're currently facing stress with. Think about it from the appraisal perspective that we did today, right? What are some resources you have to cope with those stressors? And what are some coping skills you know or you have or you utilize that can help you deal with those stressors? Okay, cool. While we're also getting to the end of it, there is a feedback form in the chat box. If all of you could take a look at that and fill that out about the session, that would be super helpful. Any questions while we're noting down these take back exercises? Any questions that anybody would like to ask before we close? Okay, dancing, sleeping, speaking to parents, being busy throughout the day, doodling, art. That's amazing. Singing. That's awesome. music. Glad that all of you share. I also really love sports. I like swimming. It kind of feels relieving in a certain way. Doesn't take any brain power. Oh, Anisha, that's so sweet. You're grateful for your best friend. He's stuck with you, Joel. Love that for you. Please, the recording of the session will be uploaded to the YouTube channel, right, Sunita?
Yes,
When
yes.
it is uploaded. Meditation. Yes, that was Disha. That was actually going to be one of our last emotion focused coping thingy that we were going to talk about. But I'm sure a lot of us also know why that's important. Mindfulness over meditation as well. Cool. All right. Hiking, nature sleep. Awesome. I know that the emotion focused coping techniques we were talking about in the end are also things that we hear about a lot, that we talk about a lot. A Google search can also get us there, right? The point of the session was to understand the way that we perceive stress as well and how that differs from one person to another. So the next time you find yourself in a stressful situation, try to identify what that particular stressor is. You put it in the Google chat, say stress appraisal process, you will get that flow structure for you. Put your stressor in that situation. What are you perceiving that stressor as? What resources do you have to cope with that stressor? How are you going to tackle it, right? It might actually put that particular ambiguous, stressful situation into perspective for you, right? Coping skills, I'm sure you can find a list of 100 different coping skills that will pop up for you on the internet. See what works for you, see what doesn't, right? Talk to a friend. If you want to critically look at, such as we looked at journaling, how does it help? How does it sometimes turn into something unhelpful, right? How is it subjective from one person to another? Speak to a friend, discuss, have a conversation. It really, really helps to do that and to gain perspective, right? So I hope that is something, or maybe at least one new thing that some of us took away from this session today. And I'm really grateful for all the participation. It was super, super active. I got a lot of responses, and I have a lot of people here on video with me. So I'm really, really grateful for all of you. And thank you for joining today.